was stupid. So, randomly at points, have you ever thought, while you're reading something, what drugs the creator is on? That has happened a few times in my life. And the subject of this manga talk, as I call them, sometimes I think about this series every once in a while and think about it, why it turned out the way it is. It's a very good series. I'm not saying this as a bad thing. I'm just saying it is something. And if you read the title, you should probably know, and that is Dorohedoro. This is something. Let's talk about it. So, out of all the series that I've read in my life, Dorohedoro is one of those series that I first started hearing about, I think before the pandemic, ever so slightly, and then really started hearing about it when the animated series came out on Netflix, and then started picking them up when I finally saw them in my stores around me, because again, buying shit online in where I live sucks. But this is a very good series, and like I said, at points I'm just like, you have to have been on drugs to think up some of the shit in this series, but it's very good. Not the taking drugs part. I am not advocating anyone taking drugs. I'm saying that this series is very good. It is something that I like in the fact that it does the situation which you take a usual premise that would be very simple and then do batshit insane things within it that make it so much better. Also, another thing about this series is that sometimes it's hard to get. Volume 23, the last volume in the series, it took me a full fucking year to get it after I read volume 22. I don't know why. It was out of print, maybe, I think, and then it just took forever trying to figure out. I should have bought it when I had the chance, when I was just like, it won't go out of stock. If you ever have that thought about a series, never ever in your fucking life be like, it's not gonna go out of stock. It's probably gonna fucking go out of stock. So, yeah. It is something that it took a bit for me to get all of the series for. It took me well over almost like 2 years of just buying and reading them till finally get the last series. It is a completed series with 23 volumes, but I have some complaints that maybe I will talk about at some point, but right now that is not what it's that if I could lever one complaint about this series, is trying to get the last fucking volume. And that's nothing on part of the mangaka. She did great. She's great. It's just why? But on past my one frustration about printing processes, this entire series is based solely off of the normal tried and true sort of deal where main character has amnesia, doesn't know what the fuck happened to him. Main character wants to find out what the fuck happened to him and get revenge on who the fuck turned his head into a reptile. Granted, that's not usually how it goes. It's usually some other things, like why the person that did this is the reason that I have amnesia, so need to find them out and deal with them. The difference in Dorohedoro is that the entire series sometimes feels like a fever dream that someone had about the way magic works, and it is interesting to say the least. In Dorohedoro, magic or sorcerers that are able to use magic are dicks. Like, they're kind of just dicks. That's the best way to explain sorcerers in this world, because they use regular people that are in the hole, as they call it, which is just where regular ass people live, as sort of a way to experiment with their magic, as a way to train and the like. And I'm just like, Jesus fucking Christ, fuck off. And it's just a very interesting sort of deal. Magic wise, in the world itself is weird in the fact that also these sorcerers exude smoke that does the different things, and the different sort of powers that come along with it. You could have people just able to make tiny little explosions, and that's all that they can do is a very small popping, and other people can control like mushrooms to the point where they are sort of like unstoppable. Other people are able to heal people except themselves. Like, there is a multitude of magical powers that are in play, and the fact that this one guy, Carmen, the main character, is just trying his hardest to find one sorcerer that did this to him, turned his head into a lizard, and made him not remember any of his past, is very difficult. Also, but good for him, is that whatever magic happened to him causes him not to be affected by other people's magic. Great. It's also good because, you know, most sorcerers just know how to use their magic, and if all of a sudden that they don't know, like, the enemy is coming towards them and they aren't able to use their magic to defend against them, it turns out bad for that sorcerer. Then again, I do not feel any sort of sympathy to most sorcerers in the world, because they are kind of dicks for using people as test subjects for their magic. So, needless to say, also sorcerers in this world go back and forth between their own realm and the whole. Mostly because there is weaknesses besides just stabbing a bitch, and that is the rain in the hole causes them to become weak, and if exposed to enough of it, they will die. So if it ever rains in the hole, you know, they can't go there. It is an interesting sort of world that is there, and it is brutal to say the least, filled with a lot of fucked up people, like a lot of fucked up people to the point where I felt sad at points, but at the same time, I'm like, those motherfuckers did a lot of horrible things to different people. Fuck them. Still, it is kind of interesting, and the different characters you meet along the way in Dorohedoro are interesting to the point where there's a lot of them, but they're all unique. Like, you don't feel like it's bloat in the sake of like, here's a character, here's a character, here's a character. You feel that if a character is introduced, and and let's say they survive several chapters, they're probably important to the story. And they come up every so often in the story, still doing their own things, and there is still plot happening because of them. It is very good. I would show you more of the series, but there's a reason why there is not even a sticker, this is printed onto it. You see that? Explicit content. So, yeah, YouTube isn't going to like that. I can just show you. And that's about it. It is, all in all, a very gritty, very adult story with very dark humor. Because, you know, people die. People die, people are eviscerated, and the art style as a whole is, I wouldn't say rough. It is rough in the sense that it's made to look rough. It's not rough in the sense that it's bad art style. It is rough in the sense that it just feels, looking at it, feels rough, so to speak. I'm trying to find a page that's pretty cool. I think, no, that's not good. I'm trying to find a page that isn't too violent to show, or dark, or that has really good artwork, but doesn't It's not the grade. No, I can't do that one. I can't really show you much of Dorohedoro. Just believe me that the art looks great. And the characters grow and evolve, but yet at the same time feel the same. Like, they have their own goals and emotions that they want to accomplish and fulfill and realize, and yet you don't feel like they're out of left field when you have them show up. And oh man, I forgot that Carmen, also the main character, I forgot to say this when I first brought him up. Besides having the lizard head and being unable to be affected by magic, the way that he checks to find out if someone is the person that they made them to be, like lizard face, he clamps onto their head with his jaws and has a small tiny man in his mouth ask them a question, and he asks them, hey, what did the dude say? Oh, okay, you're not the person. Whack! Dead. It is an interesting sort of story because it's weird, it's strange, and it goes away from tropes in the way that most series do not go that would have the same premise. And the fact that also when you learn one thing, you also have two more questions brought up about what the fuck is, like, wait, what did you mean about that? No, it's different? Okay, let's find out what those two things mean. And it keeps on building and building and building, and the world slowly expands beyond the whole and slowly starts to become more fleshed out as you learn more about the world that it is inhabiting. This hectic story about which originally started as a dude trying to figure out what the fuck happened to him gets so crazy. I would want to say more, but I feel like if I say more, it spoils it. And the plot twists, the different revelations that occur as slowly as you go forward, it reveals more about the details of what you are hoping for, what you are experiencing, and that is where there's beauty to this. And it is solid, I would say the least. Like 100% solid and also 100% done. So if you want to, like, I genuinely cannot give you more information on it because it would ruin the surprises in it. Like, at the beginning, it seems like a very cut and dry plot, but by the end, you're just like, what? What do you mean? And the last volume, oh, even if it took me a year to find it, that last volume, whew, like, I didn't reread the entire series when I finally got the last volume. Usually when I read a series, it takes a chapter or two to remember what it is that I was like what was happening in the last volume. I just do not have enough time to reread up until that point because I have a full-time job and then I also have a fucking large TBR pile. With Dorohedoro, I remembered what was happening within the first page reading it and just being like, yes, what the fuck is happening? It makes sense because Dorohedoro. And it is genuinely a very, very solid read because there are some fight scenes, but there's also quiet moments of dialogue and craziness that occurs, and it is batshit insane the entire way through. Highly recommend it. It may take a bit to find volumes because at this point it is finished for several years now, and it took me a while to find certain volumes, especially the last one. I will also say, I think I've said this in another video, when I finally did buy the last volume, the fucking Books A Million near my place, guess what? How many volumes they had of volume 23 the next time I was in there? Fucking 3. Anyways, it's a very solid story. All of the All the volumes cost $12.99, I believe. I don't think any of the other ones. One second. Yeah, all of them cost $12.99. It is a very solid series that I would say anyone would enjoy, especially if you like dark humor as well, because, you know, as much as it's dark and fucking horrendous at points in the subject matter, I guess, and the imagery that's happening, the dark humor definitely tones it down to the point where it's like, yes, this is bad, but we're joking about it, so I guess it could be worse. But yeah, solidly all the way through. Highly recommend anyone read Dorohedoro, especially if you can get your hands on it. 23 volumes. I will say, if you have all the volumes, you will start to notice that as they go on, they get thicker and thicker and thicker. Volume 23, which I've shown up, is far thicker than volume 1, but also volume 22, and like up until I think when it starts getting into 10 or so, it starts getting thicker and thicker. The series is right down there. It's volume 15 that it starts getting thicker and thicker. So very interesting. If they didn't do that, maybe there probably would have been more volumes. I don't know. Solidly though, very good series. Highly recommend anyone read it. I would go into more characters, but there's so many that I can't really explain all of them. What was her name? Another good character in this, who is technically another main character, is Nikado, I think is how you pronounce her name. Great character. You learn a lot about her as well. Plot twist. So very solid story, very good storytelling, and the mangaka Q, I don't know how to pronounce your last name, I'm sorry, she's great. Highly recommend anyone read this whole entire story. It's solid. What else do you want me to say? I just wanted to talk about this, and I finally decided to talk about it finally. So yeah, I'm going to end the video now. So yeah, this is a story that I've had for sitting on a while after I finished it. It was several months ago when I finally finished it, but you know, finally sitting down thinking about the differences and all that, I'm like, okay, let me just finally talk about it. I wasn't going to talk too long about it because if I went into specific details, that would have caused spoilers, even if it was just a little bit. Like trying to explain different people, different plot lines would have been major spoilers. It's a very solid series. Hopefully you try it out. I understand that it's not for everyone, but if you do enjoy it, you know, that's great. So yeah, I think that's it. If you enjoyed this content, think about hitting the like button. If you want to put down in the comments what you want me to talk about, I'll do that. I will eventually get into other shit. I'm not making as many videos as I used to, just because sanity, and my work is really crazy, but I also want to have weekends. And as much as I like making videos, I also like playing video games, and I need to read more. So think about subscribing. I think I already said that. If you want to see more of this stupid bearded face, yeah, that's it. I'm always terrible at ending videos, but yeah, so bye. Be safe, read manga, bye. Stay inside, bye.